Today, Jan Ross is going to talk about faith and what that might mean to us versus what it might mean to other religions, other churches. We both like the following quote about religion by Scotty McLennan, Dean for Religious Life at Stanford University. To find your religion, it's not enough just to open one's mind and think deeply. Each of us must also open all of our senses and experience the world. Religion grows from the heart as much as the head, and it cries out to fuse body and mind. Faith is an orientation of the whole personality, a total response. It's not just a belief, the holding of certain ideas, which is a function of the mind alone. Faith, by contrast, is the opposite of nihilism and despair. It may or may not include beliefs, but it is much larger. It is the ability to experience the universe as meaningful. Having faith means that our lives hold together and make sense at a deeper level, rather than seeming absurd. Therefore, your religion is something you not only think about, but also sing, dance, eat, paint, and sculpt. To find your religion, you must engage all of your senses. You should feel it as well as explain it, hear it as well as see it, taste it as well as smell it.
Not long ago, at a social action meeting, we were talking about the Interfaith Initiative. Well, we here at Live Oak aren't a faith, came a comment from one friend. Wait, what was that again? My attention was alerted, and the old high school debater part of my personality rose to the fore. I think of UUs as a faith community. Just because we don't have a belief in a common deity, does that exclude us as a faith? Is a faith community different from a faith? I strongly feel that I have a faith. I can't agree with you on that statement, I said to my friend, and a lively discussion of the task force members ensued. The energy behind this exchange suggests it would be a good topic for us to talk about here at Live Oak. As the days and weeks have passed since that meeting, I have found myself coming back again and again to the issue of faith. What do I have faith in? Am I fooling myself when I think of Unitarian-Universalism as a faith? Perhaps the strength of my reaction about the question of faith comes from being in the position of Director of Religious Exploration here for 8 years. In much of our literature and our professional materials, we refer to ourselves as a faith. Our new online curriculum for religious education is called Tapestry of Faith, and one of the books used in one of the adult RE classes is A Chosen Faith by John Behrens and Forest Church. But since that question came up, I find myself wondering how it's defined. What do people really mean when they call Unitarian Universalism a faith? My Merriam-Webster's dictionary gives several definitions of faith, 2 of which seem to fit my experience and ours here at Live Oak. The first is a firm belief in something for which there is no proof. And second, something that is believed with strong conviction. The Bible in the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, says, "Now faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." All of these definitions emphasize a strong belief without concrete evidence, but suggest a broader interpretation than just a belief in a specific deity. What exactly is the credo that I see as my faith? One of the first tenets is that everyone is entitled to have their own beliefs. As a very small girl, I remember a number of ideas I held very strongly. Later, I spent many years trying to find one person who had the same beliefs that I did, and finally, instead, found a church where none of us have to conform to a creed, and it's a much better fit for me. Interestingly, people who attend evangelical churches don't always believe in God. Dr. T.H. Luhrmann, a professor of anthropology at Stanford University, in her recently published book, When God Talks Back, Understanding the American Evangelical Relationship with God, discusses a woman in a traditionally conservative church who says, "I don't believe it, but I'm sticking to it. That's my definition of faith." In the face of that evangelical woman's uncertainty about God's existence, she decided that she was better off behaving as if God were real. Dr. Luhrmann explains, the woman chose to foreground the practical issue of how to experience the world as if she was loved by a loving God, and to put aside her intellectual puzzling over whether and in what way this invisible agent was really there. Many church members probably take this practical way to make sense of our complex world. Well, my intellectual puzzling is still with me, and when I can't make the aspects of a belief make sense, I go back to the beginning and put them together again in another way. My theology would not be defined as traditional in any sense of the word. If someone asked how I fit into the usual religious categories, I would opt into that of an agnostic more than anything else. A traditional, personal God is not part of my view of the universe, or perhaps multiverse. I'm not antagonistic toward that term. I just translate it into something that does have meaning for me. I believe in a strong sense of goodness in human beings, yet the category of humanist feels too limiting to me. I have faith in people's innate goodness and resilience, and I believe we are evolving slowly as a cooperative, caring people. I think my belief in this is grounded in the large, loving family that I grew up in. We are a diverse bunch, some successful by traditional standards, some not so much, some who can enjoy our large, boisterous family for a week, some who make it through 2 hours and escape to the quiet. We all share a strong bond with each other, with following our passion as we lead our adult lives, and with caring for each other when the need occurs. We also believe in having fun together. To illustrate, I'm sharing a picture of a gathering over the last weekend on the porch of a cabin in the Adirondack Mountains, which includes my mom, who is 90, and 2 of my sisters. The picture was texted to yet another sister who was still in bed. This combination of fun-loving, caring people continues into the next 2 generations. My grandniece is presently working on a medical project in Kenya as part of her college curriculum. I also believe in the incredible natural universe, multiverse, and the many possibilities therein. There is so much about our universe, our human minds and bodies, that we don't know yet. So I have a sense there may be amazing ways that we connect and disconnect. The concept of mirror neurons, for instance. Mirror neurons fire in our brains both when we act and when we observe the actions of others. We don't know the reasons for this yet, but it is an amazing connection between 2 beings that are traditionally considered quite separate. Research is now indicating that cooperation is a human characteristic, which has evolved with our species because it is necessary for our survival. Some of us are wondering when some members of our species will notice what we are doing to our environment, but that is another sermon. My beliefs keep the possibilities open. The possibility of transcendence, the possibility of wholeness of reality, the possibility of our universe evolving with connections that are hidden to us now. So perhaps my theology could be articulated as the goodness found in each being, which connects with the goodness in other beings, is what God is to me. Let me say that one more time. My theology could be articulated as the goodness found in each being, which connects with the goodness in other beings, is what God is to me. Do I turn my back on the violence, war, hurt, and crime in our world? No. The older I get, the more suffering I see in our world. And perhaps that's why I have come to be a UU Buddhist and count breathing and meditation among the gifts that I am truly grateful for. In my meditation practice, my faith has become stronger. Faith in myself, faith in other people, and faith in our world. Meditation gives me the time to reflect and reconnect with myself. Tara Brach, a Dharma teacher and author in Washington, D.C., speaks about meditation practice as cultivating our capacity for presence, for directly contacting our real moment-to-moment experience. She explains further, being present gives us more inner space and creativity in responding rather than reacting to our circumstances. Only by deepening our attention and letting life be just as it is can we find real intimacy with ourselves and others. Mindfulness allows us to see that truth of our experience. Tara Brach's teachings are very important to me. She's able to come close to articulating experiences that I have had that leave me knowing I am on the right path, knowing I am listening deeply to myself and to others, knowing for at least a few moments I am truly present. It seems that it's contradictory of me to speak of seeing the truth of my experience as helping me strengthen my faith, but that is what happens. My mindfulness is growing, and I trust myself more now. That allows my faith in how I perceive the universe and how I live my life to grow. It has also strengthened my ability to appreciate the choices that other people make without judging them. A few years ago, our daughter with Down syndrome began to have health problems, and difficult behaviors followed. She stopped eating, grew dehydrated, and was quick to yell, and she took little pleasure in life. We took her to many doctors, listened to many experts, shed many tears about how to bring this young woman back to the music-loving, joke-telling, happy person that we had known in her childhood. She just got thinner and sicker. Finally, I stopped listening to the outside experts and just listened to Megan with my own mother wisdom. I stopped trying to push Megan toward my vision of who she should be and watched and listened to what she was trying to tell me. Jim and I took over managing her supported living home, training the staff, and monitoring the activities. Gradually, over the next 3 or 4 years, our daughter was able to return to the happy person that she used to be. I remember sitting on the floor in Megan's room when she was having pain in her face and had declared that she would not drink her nutritional meal. If I started reading the paper or otherwise didn't pay attention, Megan's behavior would not change. But when I sat with her, quietly paying attention to her, eventually a nonverbal message would pass between us, and she would be able to turn her behavior around and overcome the pain of drinking her meal. Was it my faith? Was it her faith in me? I don't know the exact mechanism. What I do know, eventually, she would drink. I developed faith in our ability to do this together, and she began to get well. Being present, listening to each other without judging, honoring the experiences of others, caring for others when they are in need. These are the actions that help connect us and bond us with each other. These are the characteristics that have allowed the people here at Live Oak to covenant with each other and form a congregation. And these are the human attributes that made it possible for us to weather the difficult situation we had here last year and emerge as a stronger, more loving congregation. This congregation has held Jim and I in its arms when Megan was so sick, and later when Jim had lymphoma and went through chemotherapy with its many side effects throughout our difficult times. Perhaps that is why I think of Live Oak as a faith community. And when we accept Live Oak and Unitarian Universalism as a faith, we can ask even more important questions. You have probably gathered that Unitarian Universalists are a question-loving people. We got to be Unitarians by asking where in the Bible it said that God came in 3 parts. And we have continued that way for hundreds of years. Questioning and doubt are not enemies of faith, but instead help us define faith. Our own Hosea Ballou, one of America's earliest Universalist ministers, counseled, "Doubt is an incentive to truth, and patient inquiry leadeth the way." We can find our way as a congregation when we ask questions and have faith. UU President Peter Morales recently reported on the national UU conversation called Gathered Here that started in 2010. UU people were asked to share experiences of times they felt that we UUs were at our best. The leaders wanted to find out what our shared aspirations are. The report from this Gathered Here conversation was recently released. President Morales shared what he calls the distilled version of the findings of this conversation, and it says a lot about our denomination and our faith. It begins, "We aspire to a faith in which spirituality is deep, experiential, and relational, and which moves us to action." The leadership team, which worked on this project, then described what they have learned. "We are at our best when we grow into our best selves and honor the divine in each person. When we practice spiritual justice, justice-making grounded in faith and worship. When we embrace fellow travelers within and beyond our faith, building community together. When we invite people to share themselves and their gifts. When we have such a strong sense of our religious purpose and identity that we must act on it. When we covenant together to create sustained relationships across all ages and cultures. When we transcend geographic, national, and language barriers, and when we experience spiritual depth individually and collectively." I share President Morales' excitement about our UU faith. I think that we can help each other be more loving together than we can be alone. In closing, I offer you one more quote from President Morales. "Faith is not really about what we believe. Faith is ultimately about being faithful." Our UU faith is about being faithful to our shared vision, and what a vision it is. As always, love will guide us. Come, let's live into our shared vision. So be it.